Hey everyone, welcome back to Elicit Folio, where we turn simple ingredients into something special. Today I'm going to show you one of the best dairy-free eggnog recipes you will ever try. When we make this version, it will be a non-alcoholic version, but feel free to spike yours at the end if that's how you enjoy your eggnog. So let's gather our ingredients. For this recipe, you're going to need coconut milk, creamy oat milk, maple syrup, sugar, vanilla extract, cinnamon, nutmeg, salt, and 4 egg yolks. So to start, we're going to take our 4 egg yolks and add them to a bowl, and to that we're going to pour in a 1/4 cup of sugar. Using a stand mixer or a hand mixer, we will blend these 2 ingredients together until the mixture thickens and becomes sort of this pale yellow color. The type of mixture or texture you're going for here is what I would describe as almost like a liquid marshmallow. This step is super important if you want a nice, thick, and creamy eggnog mixture at the very end of this recipe, almost as if you were using real dairy milk or heavy cream. And in my test kitchen, when I tried different variations of this recipe, I tried using, almond milk, for example, or I ended up skipping this step when I was experimenting, and I found that the texture was not as thick as traditional eggnog. So if you don't do anything else, definitely don't skip this step if you don't want a runny eggnog at the end. All right, let's add our oat milk. And then next, we're going to add our coconut milk into the pot. We're gonna season sort of our eggnog mixture. So we're gonna take some maple syrup here. I recommend getting a really good quality maple syrup when you do this. Next, let's add a little bit of nutmeg. We'll add some cinnamon to the mix, and then we'll add a pinch of salt. All right, and then we're simply going to whisk these ingredients together until you start to see a steam appear. You also want to take care that you don't boil the mixture at this juncture. You're simply just looking for a steam, because what we're going to do is we will take this particular mixture, the creamy oat milk mixture, and then we're going to ladle some of it here into the eggs to temper the eggs. So if it's too hot, like boiling, not only could you potentially burn your milk, but you could also potentially create scrambled eggs. So we're simply just looking for a nice little steam at this step. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're starting to get some steam coming off of our mixture. So let's go ahead and start tempering the eggs. All right, so let's temper our eggs. Let's take just like a little bit for the first scoop. Look how nice and thick that is. This is gonna be such a creamy, non-dairy eggnog. And then I'm simply going to ladle some of that into my mixture and whisk at the same time, just to get the eggs used to the new temperature. Let's add a little bit more here. We'll just slowly whisk in some. You don't need to whisk in everything from the pot to this bowl, just enough to where you feel like the eggs are coming up to temperature. And I also sort of turned the temperature here in the pot down a little bit as well. All right, let's add another scoop, another ladle. This is also loosening up, as you can see. So it's so important to make sure that if you want that nice creamy eggnog, make sure you get everything pretty thick up front. All right, I'm gonna add another ladle, and then I'm gonna check the temperature and see if they're warm. put that here. And I'm gonna use some clean hands. All right, using clean hands, I'm just gonna test that. It's warm. I think I wanna add one more scoop to this. All right. Looks like a nice little crema has formed at the top. So what we're gonna do next is pour the tempered eggs, and this is nice and warm now, into our pot. You'll also notice, even though there's not as much liquid left in here, the pot has still not come to a boil. So you just wanna keep your temperature, your eye out on the temperature here. But I think we're in a good place. So let's slowly pour this back into our pot and continue to whisk. So one trick a lot of people do to see if the mixture is ready to just sort of sit. One, you could do the whole spoon test where you take the back of a spoon, you coat it, taking a clean finger, just see if the line stays, and it is. Another thing you can do as well is to take the temperature. I love the ThermoPro. This is not sponsored. It's literally just one of my favorite thermometers. And you wanna check for around 160 degrees Fahrenheit, just to make sure that the pasteurized eggs, because I use pasteurized eggs in this, are good, and it'll kill any sort of like bad bacteria. So we're at 175, which means the mixture is ready. But this is optional. You could just do the spoon test, but if you want to be scientific, you can definitely use a thermometer here. And life hack, I also just love the ThermoPro temperature thermometer here, because like it gives me kind of like a nice little cheat sheet. So if I'm making candy or meat, it literally tells me right there what the temperature should be. So we're gonna turn off our heat. And if I didn't mention it earlier, for reference, I had this cooking on low to medium heat. We're gonna allow the mixture to cool down for a bit, and then after that, we'll transfer it to an airtight jar or container and let it chill in the fridge. And then once everything completely cools down, we'll make a nice eggnog. Oh, and there's one thing I forgot to add as I was cleaning up. I forgot to add the vanilla extract. So I always wait for everything to fully cook, and then we can just add our vanilla extract here at the end, whisk it together, and then let this cool down for a bit. Any of you want to know what oat milk I use? This is not sponsored. This is just literally my favorite one. I used this particular brand, and I got the one that said extra creamy. And I love it because I feel like if you want to make a non-dairy eggnog, it still helps with giving you that nice creaminess that you're going for. And it has, it doesn't have a lot of ingredients in it either. So I feel like it's a little bit more of a healthier option, but this is the particular oat milk that I used. All right, so the eggnog mixture has had time now to cool down for a bit. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to definitely store it, but before we put this in our airtight container, we're going to strain the eggnog. So I'm gonna go over to the stove and grab this and run it through a fine mesh strainer, just because it kind of has like a little foam at the top, and I don't want that with my eggnog. And then we'll pour it inside of our airtight container, and we'll also take a sample really quick. So let me grab the eggnog. And this smells amazing, by the way. All right, drop that in the sink. So I'm gonna pour this without trying to spill anything. Hopefully I don't. And we'll pour this inside of a little pitcher here to strain. Of this touching. So we'll do 2 batches at a time. take our airtight container. I am definitely gonna get a sample of this. So let's officially enjoy our dairy-free eggnog. Pour some in here. And then we'll finish it off with a non-dairy coconut. Non-dairy coconut Cool Whip. And a nice dusting of nutmeg. Beautiful. And that's it. Look how amazing this looks. Even better cold. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today to see how we're gonna make our dairy-free eggnog, if that's your wish. If you want to have some fun with this, I definitely recommend perhaps adding a shot or two of liquor. You can add rum. I personally love cognac inside of my eggnogs, but this is the finished product. She tastes amazing. So if you have kind of a lactose issue or your body doesn't really do well with dairy, or if you're just trying to cut back on dairy, then definitely give my dairy-free eggnog a try. I hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe and you found it easy to follow. If you want the full recipe, be sure to visit my blog, elicitfolio.com, and then be sure to like and follow and subscribe. I will definitely be posting more cozy recipes for this season, and I look forward to seeing you next time.